training once a day. That was yesterday. Day before yesterday, we were trying to look at the software itself, but the network was not really very favorable for us. So, but today, we're going to look at, we're still going to continue looking at the software. So I'll just start from where I started. Started that yesterday, Saturday, so that we know how to use out any aspect. So I'll share my screen now. So I'll just open all the software now, let it load. Then I will I'm waiting for the software to load. So once it loads, then I will continue from there. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir. That's it.
So I'm going to bring out okay. I made mention yesterday. Sorry, let me just I made mention yesterday that sorry on Saturday that usually the the SPSS software is actually in three parts. That is we have three views. This is the data view. Then we have the variable view. Then we have the output view. This is the output view. Sorry, not this. This is the output view. So this is where every um, of your output shows. So whatever you do, this is where it come out. Top. So now, and I make mention that there are two ways through which you can bring in data into the software. It's either you type in the data, let's say you have some very few data to type, you type in here, sorry, you type in under this data view. Let's say this one is age now. You don't type age here. So once you say the first one, let's say the first one is 23, then it will automatically give it a variable label. But you have to go and change the variable later, which I will also show you. Then let's say the next one is 34. We have 12, 13. Just like that. Let's say the other one is the male. We have female. Let's say male. So just something like this. Now you can see that I say variable 001, variable 002. But we want the exact name to convey. If you want to do that, this is where you do that. And I make mentioned the last time we met that the way through which you name here, you make sure that there is no there's no space when you are naming them. So the first one now is age. If you want to add, let's say age, uh, or let's say subject age or patient age, underscore age. Now, let's say the next one is patient uh, gender. I hope people can hear me. Hello?
We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
So,
I can hear you.
so let's say um, the other one is gender. So you see that there is no space. There must not be space. Once there is space, once there is no space, it will reject it. Let me use this as an example now. If I do it like this, it will reject it. Okay, yes, it will still accept it. But once there is space like this, it will not accept it. You can see it's telling me variable name contain illegal character. So space must not be there. If you want to create space, you use underscore. So we accept it. And I also make mention that under variable type or type of variable, we have different variable type. We have numeric, we have comma, we have dot, we have scientific notation, we have date, we have dollar, we have custom, we have custom currency, we have string, then we have restricted and numeric. So in essence, these are the different variable type that you can have. And I mentioned in the last training that the only two types that we always encounter most times in practice are usually numeric data
Numeric.
or string data. And I also make mention that the third one that you might also come in contact with most quite not really often, but sometimes is the date. So these are the different variable type. And I also make mention that your decimal, you can either increase it or decrease it. So if I want it to be 3 now, if I come back here, I see it's 3 decimal. But for string, this is an example of string data. And I said that string data are usually alphabetic data, while numeric data are usually uh, uh, numbers. So now this is 3 decimal. Then if I want it to be uh, 2, I'll change it here. If I want it to be 1, I change it here. Then if I want it to be no decimal at all, then I'll also change it here. Make it 0. So if I come back and I change it, you can see that there is no decimal there. So that is that. Now, this is one way, like I said, that you can use to bring in your data. If the data are not actually are just few data that does not require so much. But if you are dealing with data that are quite more, that are many, that are plenty, what you do then is to what? Is to already have that data. Probably maybe you collected the data using Google Doc by questionnaire. Then the next one is by using what was it called? By using uh, what is it called? Then, or you already have them in Excel. You have them in Excel, so you can easily import them into this software. So I want to demonstrate now how to import. Now, if you want to import, you go to File, then you go to Open, then you go to Data, then automatically it will take you by default to your desktop. But I mentioned to you the last time we met that most often most often it may not be your data set may not be in your document. Then what you need to do is to look for where your data set, like my data set now is in the desktop. So I'll click on desktop, then I'll look for is in the SPSS training. So, and I also mentioned that there are SPSS folder or yes, data set are usually saved in .sav. But that is when you have worked in SPSS. But now it's a sale that I want to report into the software. But Excel are not usually saved in .asv. Rather, they are saved as Excel or .sls or .slss or .slsn, as the case may be. So you just click on here, Excel. So all your Excel data will come up. Now, assuming this is the one I want to work on now, I'll click there, then I'll click on open, then to show me the different sheets that I want to come up. Then once I click on open, then it will open up. So you can see this is the Excel. Then you can have data set that is up to 1,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, depending on the kind of data set you have. Then you can also have data that is not that very much. So you also have that as the case may be. So those are actually ways through which you can bring in your data set into the software. Now, having said that, now when you brought in your data um, into SPSS, then the next thing that you need to do, the next thing that you have to do now is to now what? Is to now look at how to define this. Remember that I also made mention to you that there are ways through which you code your data. Your data can come in like this, and you can actually transform the data right from here. But another thing is that most often what is usually advisable is that when you are working on your data in Excel, you can actually code them right from there. What I mean by coding them is that you will tell the when you are you already have what we call code notes. That code note is actually like a note or a pad where you tell your project work or your research work or whatever project you are doing, you are handling, you tell the software that okay, dm is equals to 1. So wherever you see dm, you will put 1 even when you are entering the data set from the very onset. So what you will be bringing into the SPSS, you will not really you will really have alphabet there. All you will have there will actually be numbers. So when you come and you already have that, this is what I'm saying in essence. I want to demonstrate uh, that now. So let's say I copy this. Now let's assume um, when I was coding this work from the very beginning, I already have it like this. So here, I already told them wherever when I'm entering them, or even on questionnaire, you tell the person that if you are a male, type 1, if you are a female, type 2. Those kind of things. So now, one you have one here. Then you have two, two, two. Now, if it is 1,000, you will have there like that. But it's going to be a whole lot of work if you have to do that. So it's better that when you are entering the data from the very onset, you already have it like that. So if I have it like that, all I would have done is that, okay, or let me, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to copy this, I'm going to copy this data set. I'm going to recopy this data set, all of them. So I'm going to assume now that copy, take it to Excel. So let's take it to this. Let's make it. So this one is case classification, workplace distribution. And this is what's that? We have fasting, blood sugar, MPS. We have 2 hours, 2 hours. Let's have age, we have sex, gender, last name, okay. Just leave that one. That was this one should be like that. I'm coming. Uh-huh. This AB wants to. So this is H. H. So like this. Now let's assume I've already entered this one. Just like have have something like this. Now let me say this. Let's say I say this. So let me just call it. So now let's go back now. Let's go back to the software. Now, this is what I imported before. Now, I want to now import the one now that I've coded outside the software. Now, it will still open up .ab, then is a cell I'm looking for. So I click on the cell. Now, this is it. So once I click here, then I click on open. Then it will automatically open. So can you see now? You can see how it opened. Are you with me? Hello?
Yes.
Now, with
Yes, sir, we are
this,
with you.
instead of me to go and be transforming again, I can just go ahead now and go and define what each of them mean. Then remember, all of them are now numeric. Now, it's better like this, but we are still going to do something under this measure. Now, let's come to uh, label. So this is actually classification of patients. Or let's say diabetes classification. Classification of patients. So the second one is fasting body patients. This is 2 hours post. This is the H sex change. This is age or so. Now the next thing is for us to add value. You cannot change all these ones. All these ones that are absolute values. But this one that represents something, you have to go and tell what. That's why that your coding note is very essential because you might have a very large expand of variables. So here, come here. Remember, we said one is diabetic, diabetic patients. Add and two is non-diabetic patients. Add. And the next one is gender. Remember, we said one is what? Male. And 2 is female. So can you see now? Can you see what we have?
Yes, sir.
Now, once you've done this,
Yes.
remember, you've not saved, so then you come here and stay and click on Save As. So once you click on Save As, it will not take you to any folder. If not the folder you want, you select the folder you want. So this one now, let's say is we call this training cohort. Training cohort. See, automatically it will be here. Now we've done that. Then the next thing that you want to do is this age group now. Let's say you want to categorize this age group. Remember, I told you there is something that you are supposed to do. You have to go and check the minimum and the maximum value so that you will know the number of groups that you can easily create. You can easily create. That you can easily create. So, uh, so let's check our maximum and minimum. Uh, Now, to check your maximum and minimum value, you go to you can easily use your eyes here because this one is a small data. But when you have data set that is large, 2,000, 1,000, it will not be possible for you to use your eyes. So you come to analyze, you come to descriptive statistics, come to frequency, then is the age you want to check. Then you move your age into software, then you click on statistics. Then what we want to check is maximum and minimum and maximum. So you click on continuous. Then you deselect this frequency table. Then you click on OK. So once you click on OK, it will automatically come here. Then it will tell you that you have 20 variable, but the minimum value is 34, while the maximum value is what? 87.
7.
So bearing that in mind, you know that how do you now create um, how do you create all these folders now? How do you create this group? Now you have to also that's why you must have a working what is it called? You must have a working you must have um, a working note. Then you have to take your working note, then you type that okay, the minimum is 34, then the maximum is 87. So now it means that you will now say the first group will be anything that is less than 40. That's the first group. Then the second group will be between 41 to 50. Then the second group will be 51 to 60. Then if you want to have 5 groups, then the next one will be 61 to 70. While the next one will be greater than 70. So this is 5 groups. Now how do we now go to categorize all these data sets? Then you come to transform. Then you go to transformation. I mentioned to you last time there are 2 ways through which you can do this. If you say recode into same variable, whatever you are recording here, it will wipe up what is here. So if there is an error, you won't be able um, to trace it. So that's why it's better you recode into different variables. So in this case now you go to transform, then you go to recode into different variable, then to open up this, then you move what you want to recode. Then what we want to recode now is the age. So you move age here, then you come here and say, remember here to under the name, you must not leave space. So you say age underscore recoded. coded. Then if you want to say age of patients coded, you can write that to automatically take. Then you can see label, you can write it the normal way you write, but name, you have to make sure that there's no space between two words. Now, you now come to old and new values. So click on that. Then remember I said it's just one word, one, let's say one or A is this. You can say A mean, okay, let's say A, you can't even put it here because we are dealing with numbers here now. So now it's range. Remember that it's range we are looking at. So you come and put range here. Now remember that we said it less than 40. So we put from 0, here will be from 0 to uh to 39.
Okay.
39. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
0 to 39. So, oh, it's 0 to, okay, we say less than 40. No, this one will be less or equals to 40, rather. So that would be 0 to 40. So we say 40 what? 1. And the next one is from 41 to 50. We say that is what? 2. So the next one is 51 to 60. That one is 3. And the next one is 61 to 70. That is 4. And the next one is what?
71.
Yeah. So that's from 71 to the next, which the highest is actually 84. Let's say to 87. So that is what? It's 5. So you add that, then you click on continue, then you click on OK. So automatically it will generate, it has generated this value for you. Now, once it generates this value for you, then you also come back to variable view and put the different this thing that you've done. That's why you must make sure you have a working notebook you are working with. Remember, we said one mean less or equal to sorry, less or equal to 40. Put that there. And the next one is 2 mean 40 to 50. No, sorry, 1 to 50. And number 3 is 1 to 60. Right? And number 4 is 1 to 70. Right? And 5 is greater than 70. Right? Click on OK. So once you click on OK and you come, you can see that we have it here. So can you see?
Yes.
So that is how you do your age group. You want to say, let's say, from this concentration to this concentration is low, from this concentration to this concentration is medium, and from this concentration to this concentration is high. So let's say for glucose now, you want to classify which one have high value, which one have normal value, and which one have low value. That is also how you go about it. So is that clear? Florence, are you there?
Yes.
So when you've done this, the next thing that you have to do now is to come and start doing the things that we talked about. Now, since remember we said continuous variable, the first thing that you always do for continuous variable is what? Before you do analysis. Let me see whether you are following. Before you do anything on numeric variable, what is the first thing that you are supposed to do?
You do a normality test.
Clap for yourself. That's
Yeah.
that's so that is always where you will start from. Before you start answering your research question, you must do a normality test. Now, when you've done normality test, then you will not know whether they met the condition for normality or not. And if they do not meet the condition for normality, then you now know you are going to do no parametric test. Is that okay? Now,
Yes.
Yes.
there are two ways through which you can go about doing this normality test in SPSS. The first way is to go to analyze, go to descriptive statistics, then you go to descriptive. Then all the thing you want to do. Before we even go here, let's come here. Variable. Now you can see that glucose is numeric. Yeah, although everything is numeric, but you can see that this case classification, although it's numeric, is nominal. Remember that we said one represent what? DN, while two represent no DN. So that is nominal in nature. Are you getting me? That's
Yes.
Yes.
nominal. Now, you can see fasting blood sugar is not nominal. Are you with me? It's scale
Yes.
Yes.
because it's continuous. 2 hours postprandial is also scale. Now,
Mm.
HB1C is supposed to be scale, but it's showing nominal. Then what you just do, you tap on it and change it. You can easily change it. Once you know that that is what it's supposed to be, then you can change it. Is that clear? Now,
Yes.
Yes.
sex or gender is nominal, correct. Age is scale because it's numeric. Then age coded is nominal. Now, why the reason why age is coded is nominal? Remember that we are now using something to represent. We are saying that if between this and this represent this, so it's no longer numeric. It's now you are now nominating. Are you getting me?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's that. Now, once you check that, you make sure those boxes are okay. Then the next thing you have to do is to come and uh, do normality. And I said there are two ways through which you can do this normality test. The first one is to come to analyze descriptive statistics, then you come to descriptive. Now, under this descriptive, then you move your, let's say you want to do normal, all of them that are uh, numeric, then we'll do normality test on all of them. Then you move them into here. Then you go to Ocean. Now, you can see here we have normality, we have variable, then we have all of this. But I'm not going to use descriptive. Rather, what I will use uh, is actually frequency because that's where I have mine. I'll go to analyze descriptive, then I'll go to frequency. Now I will reset this. Now I'll move my age, sorry, fasting, blood sugar, this and this. I'll move them uh, into the variable cost. Then I will remove that. Then I'll come to statistics. Now under this statistics, then I will click mean. I need mean. I need median. I need mode. But I don't need sum. Then I need standard deviation. I need variance. I need range. Then I need kurtosis. Then I need standard error of me. Then I need this. Now, but what I'm looking for, the normality test, I won't get there here. The only thing I will just get from here is just the descriptive. So once I click here, I click OK, then I click on chart. Then I can also ask for histogram because histogram will also, remember we're also looking at histogram. Then I will ask for histogram with normal to show
Oh,
normal curve on histogram. Then I'll click on OK. Then I'll click on OK. So automatically when I do that, I'll wait till the result will be shown. Now you can see here the first table that will come is like a summary table. Now to tell you the number of valid, if there are missing value to tell you. Now you tell us the mean, this is the mean value, this is the mean value, this is the glucose level, the HbA1c, this is the oh, this one is not supposed to be there. This set not supposed to be there. Sex of is not there. So age, let's tell us the mean age, standard error, mean, median, standard deviation, variance, skewness, standard error of skewness, ketosis, and all of that range. We also tell us that. Then we move further now. Check. You can see this is the histogram of the fasting blood sugar. And this is for the 2 hours postprandial. Then this is for the HbA1c. Then this is for the age of the patient. Now, this will not tell us anything. We cannot deduce totally from it if they are normally distributed or not. Now, what do we do? We come to analyze again, we come to discuss it. In this case, you now come to explore. So you click on explore, then you move all your data sets that you want to move, just the way we did it the last. Then you move them to dependent list. Then you click on statistics. Now, descriptive is already clicked, then you leave that. Then you come to plots. Now, here you need to be very, very careful. Now, remove this rule, deselect this leaf and stem and leaf. Then you click on histogram here. Then you now come and click on normality plot with test. So this is the one that will actually show you the normality test. Then you click on it. Then you click on OK. Then under this option, then you don't change anything here. Then you come here, you make sure that you click on both statistics and plot. If you click on only statistics, it will only show you statistics. You can see it has deselect the plot. So you have to click on both. So automatically it will still select that. Then you click on OK. So once you click on OK, you wait, the analysis will come out. Now, this is the analysis. Now, it will still show you all other things that I initially checked using the frequency table. Now, the next thing now that I want to check is the test of normality. Now, this is the test of normality. Now, remember that we are supposed, even before here, we are supposed to set hypothesis. So let's go back now and set that hypothesis. Now, the hypothesis here is that the glucose level of these patients are normally distributed. But you know that they are actually, another thing you need to note here, there are two groups here.
Yes.
Diabetic and
Diabetic
non-diabetic.
and non-diabetic.
But the normality test that we just did now is for all patients. Now, I'm going to show you how to do normality test that will actually group each of these statistics into their different groups. So I'll also show you that. Now the first thing here, the hypothesis we are setting here is that the fasting blood sugar of all the patients, we are not discriminating now, all the patients is normally distributed. Why that of the non-hypothesis said they are normally distributed, while the alternate hypothesis said they are not normally distributed. In all the cases. In all the cases. Now, we'll come back here now and come and check what is the outcome. Now, remember that for us to accept normality, it must not be the p-value must be greater than 0.05. If it's less than 0.05, we will reject non-hypothesis and accept alternate hypothesis. Now that is, yes, that is that. Now for the fasting blood sugar now of the patient, you can say that this is 0.238. This is the statistic. Now this is the p-value. This is 0.006, which is statistically significant. It's because it's less than 0.05. So it means that we are not going to accept non-hypothesis here. We will reject non-hypothesis and accept alternate hypothesis. The same thing happens here. The same thing happens here. The same thing happens here because this is 0.04 is also less than 0.05. So if you also check, this is KW test. Then if you also check SW test, you can see that they are still in line because this is 0.0. This is 0.025, which is less than 0.05. This is also 0.25, 0.025. This is 0.00. This is 0.019, which all of them are less than 0.05. So we will reject no hypothesis in this case. So now we will not still just conclude here. Remember that we also make mention of what's it called? Of plots of bus plot. Now, this is the leaf plot. This is the normal plots I was talking about in the other. Although we don't usually use, what we use mostly is this statistical, this test of normality, the histogram, then the bus plot. Now, if you check the bus plot, you can see that although this bus plot is looking a bit normal, but you can see that it's not at the middle, and this part is longer than this part, which will not be so. So if they are really normally distributed, it should be at the center.
Maybe.
So we move further, it should be at the middle rather. Now we move further, we see the same thing here. You can see that this thing is not well distributed. Data are more here, there is no data here. There are more here, there are no more here. There are few here. It should actually be few here, more at the center than few here, for you to have a quite significant value. Then you can also see same thing happens here. Now you can see here too, you can see that the concentration of the values are here, less are here, so that can also be normally distributed. Then we check the you can see this HB1C. Now these are what we refer to as what? Extreme values or outliers. So these are outliers. So now it means that they are outliers, and outliers are usually extreme variables. Now what this is telling you is that data 10 is an extreme variable, data 5 is an extreme variable, data 7 is an extreme variable. Now for us to confirm that, let's go back to our data. Let's go and check data 5, for example. You can see data 5, the HB1C is 45, which is high. Data 7, 43. Then data 10 is 76. So you can see quite it. The software is robust enough and is actually able to tell us which and which. So we can see what it is here. So is that, do we understand that? So once you see an extreme variable, now what you do in this case, you go back to your raw data to go and check whether did I mistakenly type this, was it I wanted to type 4.5 or I wanted to type 7.6 or I wanted to type 4.3. Now if you check and you see they are okay, then you leave them. Then if there were error, then you correct them. There are another thing to do because these are very few data. In most cases, they will ask you to remove the outliers and run the data because most times outliers will always impact on the final outcome, like the mean, the median, and the rest. Now, in this case, you have these outliers. It is advisable you don't report the mean of those values. You report the median. You report the median value because most times outlier does not have significant impact on median value. So, and in non-parametric statistics, what you usually report most often are usually the median, not the mean, because mean will always be impacted by extreme variables. So in this case, then we'll go back to our result and check. You can see that this is what this. Then we also check, we come back and check the age. You can see this is also not normally distributed. So in this case now, having done this, then you now know that the next thing that you have to do is that what am I going to do? I cannot use parametric analysis in this case because all my data are what are not normally distributed. So it therefore means that we will use non-parametric test. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So our non-parametric test, like we know, we said that we have, depending on what you are trying to also look at. For example, if you are trying to check, um, if you are trying to check the differences between the glucose level of diabetic and non-diabetic patient, if the data was normally distributed, normally you are supposed to use t-test because you are looking at two p-value between two groups. But since they are not normally distributed, you will use um, what we refer to the man who needs test in
Quick,
non-parametric. So,
quick test.
eh,
Quick test.
I said you will use the man-Whitney test. Man-Whitney
Okay.
test in
Okay,
Okay.
Mark.
non-parametric. How do you do that? You go to analyze, you go to non-parametric test, you can see it. Then you check, you see, this is not one sample. This is independent sample. So you click on independent sample. Then you click on feeds. Then you check, you move your, what we want to check now is actually glucose level. Now, the group that I want to compare is the diabetic patient. Then you move. Now, remember that here, um, we have to go and do the setting. Now, under the setting, then what statistic do we want to run? Remember that automatically it can run for you, but you want to customize what you want to run. Now, is man-Whitney test. You can see it says two samples because it's two samples group we are looking at. We are looking at diabetic and non-diabetic. So you can see all those tests I mentioned in previous area. All of them are here. This man-Whitney test because that's what we'll be using to check. So I'll click that, then I'll click on run. So once I click on run, it will run the statistic. Then you can see that it has already run. It said it has rejected the known hypothesis. Remember, the known hypothesis is saying that uh, the known hypothesis here is
P-value is
actually
greater
that
than.
no. Normally, if we were to set the known hypothesis here, the known hypothesis would have been that the mean or median value of diabetic patient is equals to non-diabetic patient. While the alternate is that the mean or median value of diabetic patient is not equals to um, is not equals to that of
Non-diabetic.
non-diabetic patient. Uh-huh. So now, what this is telling us is a reject null hypothesis. So the null hypothesis that we said was that the mean or median value of glucose level of diabetic patient is the same as non-diabetic patient. So this software is this analysis is telling us that is not true. And the reason why it's not true is because of this significant value. And this is 0.00. Now, for us to get more insight into what this has done, then you double click on this particular output. You just double click, it will open up what the real test now. You can see it has opened up here. Now you can see here it tells us we have 10 diabetic and we have 10 non-diabetic. Now, under the diabetic patient, it told us that the mean rank for glucose is 15.50, while for the non-diabetic is 5.0. So it's already shown us that is actually there's a statistical
Different.
significant difference between them. So you can see here, this is the Mahoney test, the value. Then this is with Kozan rank test. It's telling us, but what we are taking away from here is actually this statistical value and this Mahoney test. But it's actually only the statistical value that you are always taking, that you will always be reporting. So once you finish, you can close it. If you want to copy, you just If you want to copy it, you click here. It will copy. Either you copy visualization, you can copy it like this. Then you can come and post it in your MS Word, and just
Okay.
wait. Let my MS Word open.
It's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. So you click here. So you paste your visualization here. You can see this is it. Then if you want only if it's only the data you want to copy, you copy only the data. Then if you want to print, you can print just like that. So now you have to make sure you close this. So you close it, then take it back. So basically, that's how you do that. But we are going to. It's already 9 now. We're almost 9. So we are going to continue tomorrow. Then we'll continue on how to work on other. Yeah, if it's normally distributed, how do you run your your media and all of that. So we are still going to use these data sets tomorrow. Then we'll use more data. We'll try to generate more data that we'll be using tomorrow. So I will stop here. Then I'll allow you to ask your question. So ask your question.
Yeah. Well done, sir.
I hope you are getting it.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes, sir.
All right.
Mm.
So you that you already have a laptop, you can start generating data, forming data, and be practicalizing. That's the only way you learn. No. But Flourish, you that you have not gotten SPS, gotten system, we are waiting for your system. Oh.
I even want to beg you. It's like after the whole thing, I will disturb you small.
No, what?
Well, if you can actually give us something like data now, I don't really know how to generate the data to input.
Okay, tomorrow remind me. It's not. I will show you how to generate data. You can go to
Because
your hospital. Your test in the hospital is enough data. So I will show
mm,
you how to generate data. So that even after now, you can start publishing paper. That's it.
mm,
So I will show you tomorrow. Just remind me. I will show you how you generate data. You already have the data. It's actually how to enter your data. Not
Yes.
okay, yeah,
generating. It's
yes.
how to enter your data. So
But
I think there
please,
is no other. Okay.
apart from this particular software is SPSS.
Mm.
Yeah, are there other softwares
A
one
lot,
can actually
but
use to do?
like I mentioned, you always start from the base. Now,
Okay,
Mm.
if you know SPSS very well, there is
okay,
basically nothing you cannot do that other software can do. But the only thing is that because data science is also advancing. Now, when you know this, the next thing I want you to master is Excel. You need to know Excel very well. Then, once you have know Excel very well, then you now begin to move into some specialized um, softwares like like your now you
okay,
begin to like your R, like your Python, like
okay.
your
Is there
what's
anyone
the
like
Power
Tableau?
BI,
Okay,
uh-uh,
Power BI.
yeah, Tableau, and all
Tableau.
of that.
Okay,
But Tableau, all those ones are actually specialized software. But if you don't know these basics that I'm teaching you now,
okay,
you will have issue with that. So that's why usually for this training, what we use to train is the SPSS. Then once you
SPSS.
already, yes, once you know what you are supposed to do, then you can go online, you can go on YouTube and go and learn every other thing that you want to. Although we are also doing advanced training, but for this your package, this is what we use to train. Then we'll now direct you on other places where you can go and learn more. So that's
Okay. Because one actually needs to practice this, otherwise that person will forget it.
yes, you
It's
forget, and even
really.
the other software you are mentioning is still practice.
Mm,
Even me that I'm telling you now, I'm still learning
mm,
R, I'm learning Python. Yes, Tableau. I know I'm also learning Tableau. I'm learning there's this Google data studio too that
okay.
Google and Microsoft just developed. I'm also learning. So you will keep learning. You will never stop. You will not finish learning
Yes.
them. So that's just it.
Mm,
So once
okay.
you know this, then you can transit now into R because R is actually like the language of data science. So once you have learned this SPSS very well, then you can transit into R because then there's a stage you will get to, you'll be handling millions of data. So this software will no longer be capable to handle those kind of data. For example,
Mm.
working for
Okay.
all these big companies and all of that, like you that you are working for cleaner Lancet now. Let's say there is a data scientist, for example, that is handling all your patient information from your headquarters in South Africa or wherever. So they are able to look at your data. That's why they will be able to say, this this center is the one generating more fund and all of that because they'll
Mm.
be able to build a database. SQL is actually a database. So it
Okay.
migrate all the information. It's like a pipeline. All the information coming to that is able to separate them. So, for example, they ask for Surulere Center, the money that people have generated for the past 2 years. You just write a
Mm,
code and it will generate
imagine.
that information to go to the database and generate that information and bring it out. Now, the
Mm,
amount, let's say, like your marketers, the amount that
Mm.
Chinelo has brought into the company, because that's why you notice that every marketer, whoever they brought, they attach is the name to the person. So in the nearest future, they want to give award to the best marketer. They will just tell the
Mm.
person in charge of your data science, look at the
okay.
income that so and so person has brought in the past 5 years. So what the person just need to do is to write a code. Then it will just generate all your marketers. Then it will like a plot show the amount of money they brought in for the past 1 year. Then you will know, okay, based on the income that this person has produced for the past 1 year, this is the best marketer. All those things are data science, but you
Mm.
can't do that until you know this basic. That's just it.
Okay. So
Okay.
this is getting interesting, honestly. It's getting
Data
interesting.
science, even me, I'm still learning. Even me that by the grace of God, once I build my portfolio, and data science scientists are actually like the most paid people now
Yeah. We don't even
that you
have
can know.
anyone in Nigeria, sef. That's the funny
I
thing.
know we we
Mm.
have
We
oh,
have.
we have guys who what are you saying?
We
We
don't
have
have
guys that
enough.
are
We
you
don't. We
don't
don't
have
have
what?
actually. We don't have scientists like core scientists in Nigeria.
No, and that's why people like
We,
us are trying to build are trying to transit into those areas now.
we don't have because
Okay.
54 Gene advertised for how many months? We didn't even get. They didn't even get anyone. They didn't
So
have. We don't
they
have
they advertise for what position?
data analyst. This thing, analyst
Uh,
and for
are you sure?
like 54 Gene. But it's like someone
Eh,
has picked the job for so many months. Like that was
but me,
last.
I'm not even though I want to pick that kind of work to be a remote work. I can't leave my lecturing job and go and sit down with a 54G.
Oh, they pay well now. That is another this thing.
It's not
They'll pay.
about money, it's about security of the job.
The job
It's not,
security is there, and you have that, like, the company is one of the biggest
yes,
lab.
yeah, they
So,
have a good pay, but I'm
yes,
not
you have
really
opportunity to go out. and also meet people, you also increase in
Yes,
knowledge.
for even me too. Even as a, if I tell you the number of organizations that I'm working for, I
Imagine.
don't necessarily have to be in if I'm
Okay.
whatever work I'm looking for now is actually remote work. I can be in my
Okay.
house,
Okay.
analyze
And
data,
do.
send result to you, pay me my money.
Hmm.
So, and there are a lot
Okay.
of opportunity. There's this space called Fiber Upwork, where people bring their data, companies bring their data, then government
Imagine.
will analyze. They pay you in dollars.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to build my. I'm not yet there, but I'm building my portfolio too. So by the time
I
I
think
build my portfolio to some extent,
I'll put more interest into this data scientist our thing. Is very very interesting,
I'm telling you.
honestly. So you talked about maybe when you have a large volume of data, if not SPSS, you use Arrow. What's the spelling of that?
Arrow is just Arrow. Just write Arrow programming on Google to bring you to bring it out. Arrow programming. It's called Arrow program,
Oh,
but it's program you is coding kind of. It's coding.
okay, like normal
It uses
Arrow.
yes normal
As in
Arrow. Just
the,
Arrow. I think program Arrow program.
okay. Yes,
Arrow and
I have another.
Python. Okay, go
Okay,
on.
you talked about outliers. You know,
Yes.
say when you have outliers, you don't report mean. I don't really understand that area.
Yeah, what I mean by outlier, when you have outlier automatically will make your data not to be normally distributed. That's what I'm trying to say in essence. Once you have
Okay.
outliers in your data, automatically your
Hmm.
data cannot be normally distributed because they will
Okay.
disorganize the orientation of the data. So a
Okay.
rule of thumb or uh, the rule is that when you have outliers in your data, if you cannot
Hmm.
remove them, then you will use non-parametric test.
Okay.
So that just it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Okay. I want to. I don't know. We also generate data when we are doing our QC control, like our QC
Yes,
daily QC. So most times, if you are printing LJ graph,
yes.
uh,
Learning Jennings graph.
yes, for maybe you want to check how your controls are doing for the
Have
week.
been over period of time.
Yeah, over a period of time. So our QA manager used to say include the outliners so that if you because most times if you print the
Yes,
graph,
yes. What I'm saying in essence, in normal life situation, that's why I said you
mm,
go back to check. You remember I mentioned that you go back to check your raw data to make sure that you didn't mistype when you were typing. So if you are
okay,
sure you didn't mistype when you were typing, you leave it there. But
okay,
what I'm saying in statistics, when you want to do statistical analysis on that data, you can't report me. But for your situation, when you are dealing with control, you will have to report me. But I'm talking about, for example, in exam situation or in practice situation, you are not allowed to
mm,
report me. It's the media you report. Is that okay?
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, sir. Thank you.
So we meet tomorrow. Thank God for this good network. So we meet
Okay.
tomorrow.
Yes. Okay. It's all right.
Yeah,
Good night,
yeah,
sir.
bye.
Good night, and fresh. Hmm.
Mm, mm.